Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam Reviews.net. And anyway, I'm taking a look after the Gundam games where you chose Gundam 00 as your favorite or the best Gundam series, OVA, or movie. It's time to compare that to Japan, and we're doing that by taking a look at Gundam Ace in their 100th issue. They had a survey where they ranked all the Gundam series, or at least 17 of the 18 we looked at. Age didn't exist at the time. Igloo, Brave Battle Warriors, and Hathaway's Flash were at the bottom of their list, so now it's time to move on and take a look at Japan's big guns. Moving on to the top 10, and these ones, they actually reveal the number of people that voted for this. So, with 7,229 votes, it's the 08th MST, and was certainly the Gundam series that got me into this. It is an OVA, it's a little bit short, but they've got some pretty cool things. Some of the comments just include the fact that it's more real, they don't include new types. Also, just the fact that it's got some very good drama and everything like that. Anyway, 08th MS team, lots of fans in Japan, and certainly one of the most fun things if you want to go out there and paint some models up and do some cool dioramas. Number 9 is 0083 Stardust Memory. Certainly got a Top Gun feel to it, and despite the fact that some other OVAs like War in the Pocket, not so popular, so it seems according to this, 7,614 votes. You can see that Ko, even though he's the Forgotten Gundam pilot, GPO-1 and the GPO-1-3 in both of its massive forms, and don't forget GPO-2A. Certainly one of the more memorable bad guys in all of Gundam with Gato. Anyway, it certainly ranks up there in one of the more popular OVAs. Which brings us to number 8, 8,167 votes. Certainly some people don't want to watch this because they think it's not traditional Gundam, and it certainly was a big breakaway after V and F91. But it was G Gundam capitalizing on the Dragon Ball craze, and it's the kind of thing where if you talk to people that are sort of in their 20s now, growing up in the 90s, G Gundam seemed to be one of their favorites, especially if they're not really a hardcore fan and they haven't watched a lot of UC. G is the one that they seem to have fondest memories of, and the fact that it's at number 8 in Japan certainly speaks volumes to the fact that even though it's different, it certainly has a loyal fan base. And at number 7, one of the more recent series, you've got Gundam UC Unicorn, which was a short novel series, then adopted or turned into an OVA. 8,677 fans. Remember that this is from issue 100, so it's quite a while ago. So anyway, you'd wonder with more episodes coming out, whether that would have picked up. Certainly it's continuing on and it's keeping all the UC fans happy. As I said, filling in more of that UC timeline always makes people happy, especially getting some old cool MSVs that were never animated and things like that. The story seems to have enchanted some people in Japan, enough for it to come in at number 7. Number 6, loved and derided in the West. Well, and certainly loved as it was a lot of people's first steps in their first foray into this meta-series. Gundam Wing here, they don't separate between the OVAs and the series, but Gundam Wing came in at number 6, a big follow-up to G, certainly a different tone, but it got Gundam sort of back on track in terms of traditional storytelling there. 9,284 people like this, and also something just to note that whenever I talk to plastic model shop owners, they sort of lament the days when Gundam Wing and G Gundam were on in stores, because that was their glory days in terms of kids coming in and buying every kit that came out, and it's something that they say they haven't seen since. Starting at number 5, they get thumbnails actually on this survey page, and with 10,427 votes, it's Char's Counterattack, which wrapped up the epic rivalry and eventual mutual respect that I suppose we saw between Amuro and Char starting in First Gundam, continuing through Zeta. It never played out any further in Double Zeta, so this sort of gave fans a cinematic way to wrap up certainly one of the most famous pairings in all of Japanese fiction. Number 4, just a few votes ahead of Char's Counterattack with 10,763. It's one of the more recent series, Gundam Seed, where after sort of the failure in terms of fan base anyway of Turn A, Gundam Seed certainly turned things around, brought in a whole bunch of new fans while still keeping some of the fans that enjoyed Wing and G and things like that back in the 90s. It was a new take on First Gundam, and despite the fact that Seed Destiny finished in 12th, Seed, which preceded it, certainly did a good enough job that it's the only AC series that they actually gave a direct sequel to. The sequel didn't quite live up, but Seed is going to live on in Japanese fans' hearts in number 4. In third place, it was your winner for the best Gundam series, a big step up over Seed in terms of the number of votes. It's Gundam 00, which of course is sort of going to correspond with the time frame that we're talking about here with Gundam Ace issue 100. However, certainly was recent, but Seed Destiny showed that that did not count. Setsuna and the gang, they certainly had some old stuff, some new ideas on Gundam, using some old ideas from Zeta and things like that. It was popular enough for them to warrant a movie after that, and it had some fans, and of course it had some detractors, especially that space onion at the end. However, it certainly they split up the series, which is a very interesting take on Gundam. To do the 26 and a movie sort of dragged it out over the course of 2+ years. Something that we don't normally see, but you wonder if it's going to set the trend from here on in, or if it was only 00's popularity that allowed that move in the first place. In number 2, and perhaps a little bit surprising when you talk to fans here, with 20,173 votes, I thought it would be number 1, but in fact, Zeta Gundam is listed as Japan's second favorite series here. You got to see a little bit more of Char and Amuro, but certainly the focus moved on to Bright Noah slapping a nuke recruit into form, in the form of Camille Beaton, with the Mark II and the Zeta Gundam certainly very memorable in terms of mobile suit design, and it was really cool the fact that they took all those OVAs to go back and fill in that time frame with that 7-year gap in between 0079 and 0086-87. Anyway, it's right up there in terms of anybody you'll talk to, and you can see with its high ranking and high vote count that Zeta is always going to be a favorite in Japan. Which leads us to number 1 and almost 5,000 votes more than Zeta Gundam in second place, 24,786 votes. Forget the fact that it got cancelled, the movie certainly brought it back in people's hearts, and that little old thing that I've heard of called plastic models seemed to have some sort of an effect on its popularity. But I'm talking about the original Mobile Suit Gundam, First Gundam 0079, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's kept its popularity in Japan and certainly become more popular in retrospect than it ever was when it was on. Amuro and Char becoming legends, not to mention their voice actors and all the things that they've gone on to. But how many memorable scenes and how many memorable mobile suits for the good guys and the bad guys, especially those bad guys with their mono eyes. It's the kind of thing where all they have to do is print those master grades, high grades, universal centuries, and everything else, and they just keep flying off the shelves, which speaks to its enduring appeal, which means it's not New School that's going to win Japan's heart, but in fact, the original series, Mobile Suit Gundam, number 1. So it's fun to take a look and compare the Gundam Games results compared to everyone's Gundam ranking from Gundam Ace where they ranked the series. You can see that your winner, Gundam 00, finished number 3 in Japan, and the runner-up in the Gundam Games, Zeta Gundam, finished number 2, and First Gundam, number 1 in Japan, finished in the semi-finals for you guys. So certainly a lot of similarities there in the top 3. The only exception, I suppose, would be 0080, which finished 15th, pretty low down in Japan, but certainly popular there. Anyway, I'd love to hear which one surprised you about Japan. You hear a lot of hate for things like G Gundam and Wing occasionally, and yet they still ranked 6th and 8th, quite respectable there. Unicorn down in 7th, you wonder if this would be a little bit higher if they ran this series again. But then again, recent age, well, you see from Seed Destiny that recent doesn't necessarily mean good, so you wonder where age would go, and would 00 sort of fade off? Would it still stay in number 3 over time? Is Seed surprising up in 4? Anyway, everybody, love to hear from you with your thoughts down below, and stick around for lots more news, reviews, and everything else you can use. And once again, thanks to everybody who played in the Gundam games. Gundam 00, number 1 in your hearts, number 3 in Japan. Zeta and First, right up there for everybody, so you can see a lot more similarities than differences, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching, let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Number 1 in the Gundam games, indeed. I'm number 1. Don't ever forget it.